Learning Series workshop. So thank you for joining us. So our session tonight is on becoming a DLI or dual language immersion endorsed teacher. And so we have three awesome speakers with us who are extremely qualified, not to put any pressure on you, extremely qualified to talk about the subject at hand. And so I'll briefly introduce them and then I'll stop sharing and then you can start sharing your screen. So first we have with us Dr. Cathy Amanti, who received her BA in elementary education, her MA in anthropology, and her PhD in language, reading, and culture from the University of Arizona. Dr. Amanti taught for 23 years in the Tucson Unified School District as a bilingual education teacher, curriculum specialist, assistant principal, and program manager of student equity. Since 2014, Dr. Amanti has been an adjunct faculty member, a part-time instructor, and a clinical assistant professor in the Department of Early Childhood and Elementary Education at Georgia State University. And some of you kind of might also know that she was the co-author of sort of what I call the Funds of Knowledge Bible, the Funds of Knowledge book that she co-authored with Dr. Norma Gonzalez and Dr. Luis Moll. Also with us, Dr. Lisa Domke, an assistant professor of language and literacy / biliteracy education in the College of Education and Human Development's Department of Early Childhood and Elementary Education. Previously, she has worked in a summer migrant education program as a general elementary education teacher and as an elementary Spanish immersion teacher. Her research interests center around biliteracy, and more specifically, how elementary children develop reading and oral language skills in multiple languages. She also has interest in children's literature and disciplinary literacy with a focus on language learners. Her work has been published in a number of literacy and language journals, including the Journal of Literacy Research, the Reading Teacher, Reading Horizons, the Journal of Language and Literacy Education, and the Michigan Reading Journal. And then finally, we have with us Dr. Priscilla Noble. She is the principal of Globe Academy, which is a dual language immersion charter school that serves students from kindergarten to 8th grade. And the Globe Academy is located in the DeKalb County School District in Metro Atlanta. And she is also a board member of Georgia TESOL. So take it away.
Thank you so much. Pull up our PowerPoint.
Brian, I think you need to stop. There we go. Got it. Perfect.
Right. So we have the becoming a DLI endorsed teacher, and Brian did a great job introducing us. Is there anything else either of you want to add?
Not me.
No, yeah, we can.
It's great. Right.
So this is our agenda for this evening. We want to share a little about what is dual language bilingual ed, different models, and looking at it in Georgia, as well as paths how to become a dual language teacher, specifically in Georgia, and then with voices from the field and how to get hired, but a lot of time for questions and answers. So our goal is to keep this part relatively short. That way we have a lot of time to be able to talk back and forth with all of you. So what is dual language bilingual ed? The big part, and I know some of you on this are already experts and have been teaching this, but you're teaching both language and content at the same time. I'm going to show a little video of some of our programs in Georgia. But the big thing, the Georgia model is that generally there's 2 classrooms or a partner teacher model where math and science are taught in the target language, as well as literacy in the target language, and then English language arts and social studies tend to be taught in English, and students switch between the 2 teachers. Each state often enacts it in different ways, and it can also depend on district needs, but that tends to be the most prevalent model in Georgia. So I'm going to show you very briefly this video about some of our local programs and what dual language is.
Dual language bilingual education programs are programs where students learn content in a language other than English, as well as another language. You can have students who come to school speaking a language other than English, who in the dual language bilingual education program are both learning English and continuing to learn content in their home language.
What dual language immersion has done has fostered an appreciation of people who are different from one another.
Because we're changing. One of the beautiful things about our country and our state is that we always welcome people in. And I feel like the diversity that we're bringing to our country and our state, we need to have children who are able to speak, communicate, and make more global connections than we do now.
We are in a lot of need of teachers for our program, so I think that's a great opportunity to bring more teachers into our schools.
I am always recruiting bilingual Spanish educators. In fact, I even have meetings with potential employees, people who are considering education as a future career.
Working with the kids in my own language, that's the best part, having to introduce the passion to them to learn another language and be able to communicate with more people around the world. I would recommend the DLI teaching job because it is very rewarding and you get to see a lot of growth in the students.
Georgia State University, they're not only helping to prepare our future educators, but they're also helping to prepare our current educators as well.
To develop an understanding of the importance of addressing culture throughout the curriculum, not just as an add-on, not just as a special event, but how important it is to weave it through every single aspect of their teaching.
I'm gonna turn it over to Cathy to talk
Fortune
about
is my
models.
best friend. Hey, when it comes to writing, and I'm not just talking about grammar or spelling.
Yeah. Cathy, you're muted.
All right, as Lisa said, the model of dual language bilingual education that's promoted here in Georgia is the two-teacher model, where students spend half the day immersed in one language with one teacher, and then the other half of the day with the other teacher immersed in the second language. But I think that it's important that you're aware that there are other models as well. And Lisa and I both taught in a different model than the one that's promoted here in Georgia. So this is just a basic framework of the different types of program models. One is the transitional, which is the goal is proficiency in the additional language for language minoritized students. And the transitional model is primarily focused on students that are categorized as English learner, and they're supported in their home language until they know enough English to be mainstreamed into an all English classroom. And then another model for language minoritized students is the maintenance model. And in this one, language minoritized students, or students that enter our school speaking a language other than English, the goal is for them to become bilingual and biliterate in both languages. So they continue to develop their home language as they're developing English, and it's not left behind. And then finally, there are also different types of immersion programs. There are one-way programs, which are which have a goal of bilingualism and biliteracy for homogeneous groups of either language majority or language minoritized students. So one way either takes English speakers and immerses them in a program where they develop both their English and a new language. And one way can also be for students who are emergent bilinguals, a group of emergent bilinguals that all have the same home language, and immerses them in both their home language and English so that they're able to develop both at the same time. So one way is for homogeneous groups of students. Two-way is for mixed groups of students based on their language proficiency. And in two-way, we have the ideal is to have equal numbers of students that speak English and students that speak the additional language of the program learning together in the same classroom. So that's just a general overview of some of the different models of bilingual education programs. And the traditional and the maintenance and the one-way typically have just one teacher teaching both languages, but the two-way, at least here in Georgia, pairs teachers, one who's English proficient with one who is proficient in the additional language of the program. Okay, yeah. So just a brief overview, a brief history of modern dual language immersion programs in Georgia. The first DLI charter school in Georgia was established in 2007. In 2008, the first non-charter public DLI program was established at Beulah Elementary School in Douglas County. In 2008, World Language Academy started in Hall County, Georgia. It was also a charter. So we have both public and charter schools, and some of them are public charter that have dual language immersion programs. By 2013-2014 school year, there were 6 schools, and then the number of schools with DLI programs has just rocketed in the state, so that in 2023, there were 83 schools in the state with dual language immersion programs. And these include public schools, state charter schools, and just the district charter schools. And there's information, if you want to know more about dual language immersion in Georgia, there's information on the Georgia Department of Education website. And Lisa, if you want to go to the next slide. So Lisa has already talked a bit about the model that is promoted here in Georgia and that is the most prevalent here in Georgia. But the Georgia dual language model was actually borrowed from Utah. And again, as Lisa pointed out, the preferred model here in Georgia, or the one that's promoted the most and is most prevalent, is one where students spend half the day immersed in each language. But it doesn't have to be that way, because there are a few schools in Georgia and elsewhere in the country where students start out in kindergarten in a 90-10 model. In other words, they spend 90% of their time learning in the additional language of the program, say French, German, Spanish, Mandarin, Japanese, Korean. So it can vary, because again, in some places, the programs start out with a 90-10 model, 90% in the additional language. And then as the students move up the grade, the amount of English increases. So maybe in first grade, it's an 80-20 model where they spend 80% of their time immersed in the additional language, and so on. As Lisa pointed out, students develop both program languages, and the content is taught through the medium of the additional language. And as Lisa pointed out, typically science and math are taught in the additional language and social studies in the English. Now, one thing that's important to note, and it's particularly relevant to ESOL teachers here in Georgia, is that ESOL is an approved language delivery model for students that are categorized as English learner. But what that means is, if an English learner is enrolled in a dual language immersion program, they do not need to have any additional ESOL instruction as long as the English instructor is ESOL endorsed or certified. So Lisa, if you wouldn't mind just clicking on that further information link. Does it work? There we go. I just wanted to show you that there's a wealth of information about dual language immersion programs in Georgia on this page. As you can see, there are resources, and this is where you're going to find a map on the previous slide. And then you can find, if you go further down, you'll see the list of the schools around the state and articles and links. Here's the map. It's an interactive map. And then again, each year this page is updated with any new schools or additional schools that have opened a dual language immersion program. So with that, I think it's back to you, Lisa.
So I'm going to talk about how to become a dual language teacher in Georgia. I'm the coordinator of Georgia State's dual language endorsement. that we offer. And so there's kind of two plus pathways of becoming a dual language teacher. The first is the elementary education pathway. Teachers who have their full elementary education certification, who are bilingual, they can be hired as dual language teachers. Usually districts have some sort of determination of proficiency in the target language. Sometimes that's actful, sometimes it's an interview. Each district's different, but usually if you have full elementary certification in Georgia and you're bilingual, that's one of the ways that you can be hired as a dual language teacher. And then the second main pathway is that if you are world language certified and you have that Georgia P12 world language certification, you can add on the dual immersion endorsement in order to teach just on that target language side of DLI. And so that's a way of being able to, if it's something that you think you want to teach math in Spanish, or teach science and Korean and be able to teach the subjects in the language, if you have that world language certification, you can add on the dual language endorsement, and that'll certify you to be that target language teacher. If you want to teach DLI, you are not bilingual, but you want to be on the English side of DLI, there's also you can learn more about dual language methods where, like, say you have your bachelor's in education, and we also offer at Georgia State a master in education with a dual language concentration, where you're taking those courses in the endorsement. And that would support you teaching on the English side of dual language if you're not bilingual yourself. And so those are kind of the three different ways of being a dual language teacher. Yeah, and I talked about that. And so just briefly, the courses that we offer with the dual language endorsement, we've kind of taken an elementary preparation program and combined them into 5 classes. So it's quick and it's intense, but they're all online and they can be completed within 1 year. But there's perspectives of child development for culturally and linguistically diverse students. There's a content-based curriculum course, which is focused with science and social studies and dual language instruction overall. And then we have a biliteracy course and mathematics for dual language, and then field experience, where you have a certain number of days that you spend in a dual language classroom getting that experience in it. And if you already are hired provisionally for a dual language classroom, you can use your own classroom as that field experience. And so, kind of as we mentioned, the biggest thing with the endorsement is that you need that world language certification. But you can also, as I said, if you are an English monolingual and you want to teach on the English side of DLI, you can take these courses as part of a concentration with our masters in elementary ed. But if it's something that you want more information, you can email me. I also have syllabi I can send you so you kind of get a sense of the courses. But we admit students all year long. We've got those 3 deadlines for each of the semesters. And you can kind of start at any of those semesters. So now we'll switch on to Priscilla.
Hey. As Brian Hibbs was mentioning earlier, I'm the head of school at the Globe Academy's upper campus. And so, and as you saw in that, the Georgia DOE's website, we have, there's been an explosion of dual language programs here in the state of Georgia, which is amazing. The program at Georgia State is not in small part responsible for that, because once you have the possibility of properly trained teachers, it makes the possibility of dual language programs possible. So we have our program is one of the trailblazers that has existed now. This is our 11th year, and there's a lot to be learned, by doing this for a while. But as a charter school, we have special conditions that we have to live under, like our facilities. And so we're actually in 2 campuses. So I have the upper campus. I have 4th through 8th grade, and our K through 3rd is in a different school. So as a dual language teacher, you will find that one of the main things that you need to have in your backpack is patience and flexibility, because a lot of dual language programs are charter programs, but even just in the nature of being a dual language school, there are some things that are a little bit different. So as a classically trained teacher, you will find that some things are a little bit different in a dual language environment. And as a non-classically trained teacher, you will find that you have that opportunity and that possibility, because charter schools have that opportunity that potentially somebody who's not typically certified is able to work in charter schools and in dual language programs, like like when you go through that program of Georgia State, that you can be trained as your original certification could be as a language teacher, and then you also you become an elementary school teacher or a middle school teacher through alternate means. But when the Georgia TESOL was preparing this presentation to guide those who are interested in becoming dual language teachers, one of the things that we thought about is like, well, Priscilla, maybe you can talk a little bit about what you look for. So as as a person charged with hiring teachers, I get to meet a lot of different prospective teachers who would like to work with us. And so as an English teacher, so the way, like she was explaining, our program is a one-way dual language, because most of our students are English speakers. So their first language is English and they're learning a second language. In our particular school, we have, I call it like having 3 schools inside of one school, because we have the French track, the Spanish track, and the Mandarin track. So each one of these students starts in kindergarten with us and goes from K through 8th grade. Most of them stay for the entire time. And we don't do the way that we do our 50-50 model is not half of the day, but every other day. So the 2 groups of students, today they're with their English teacher, tomorrow they're with their language teacher, and then they trade out like that. But the English teacher would have the same qualifications and expertise as you would need in a typical school, and generally the same certifications and everything. But instead of just like, if you're a 4th grade teacher, instead of working with the same group of students for the entire year, you have 2 groups of students, and you have to teach the same amount of curriculum, but sort of in half the time. So that's where that whole flexibility and patience comes in. But as a language teacher, the same thing. You would be if let's say you teach French, you would teach the curriculum for language and language arts, so literacy and writing and reading, and also math and science in that second language to one group of students. And then that same exact class that you plan today, you will teach it tomorrow to a second group of students. Usually when we're looking to hire somebody, we would like that they have a Georgia teaching certification, but they don't have to have it. So we would like for them to be at least, eligible to have it. But again, we will consider the qualifications, the other qualifications of the instructor. Because we sometimes we hire people who, for example, maybe they taught in their own countries, and so they're not necessarily certified in the United States, or they come to us, like I said, through other means. Ideally, the person, or necessarily, if you're teaching in the second language, you have to have professional and academic proficiency in that language. So obviously, you have to be able to read and write and speak and understand that language that you're teaching. If the person, we give obviously preference to people who have other endorsements. For example, if they have a reading endorsement or gifted or ESL or special education, math, We are a middle school as well. So in the middle school, obviously, if you're teaching math, you know, ideally you're certified in math or specialize in math, and the same for social studies or science. You would need to have a cooperative mindset, because as those two groups of students that you're trading out with your partner teacher, you have a very close relationship with that partner teacher. You guys would work together every single day. You have to talk to each other, even if it's in the hallways or during recess while you're supervising the kids or whatever, because you have to share that content with them, and you have to share those students. Oh, how's Johnny doing today? And how's, you know, so you have to talk, you have to collaborate and cooperate. You have to individualize instruction, because obviously the students all have differing abilities, especially in the second language. They have you know, different language abilities, and yet you have to teach them all the content. So you have to be able to differentiate. You have to be a good communicator. Ideally, you would have had you know, if you went to a program like the program at Georgia State, you know, then you can, you are, you know, you know how to individualize instruction and how to work with students of differing abilities. But then you also are good, you know, a lesson planner, because the program at Georgia State has indeed taught you well how to plan lessons that are, you know, that include creative assessments, and you're able to collect student data, and you have you know, good classroom management skills. And again, when we people that have all of these qualities, and you know, and we usually, for example, when we are hiring teachers, we like to, you know, talk to their previous employers and get a little bit of a feeling of, you know, what they're like. So people are, you know, encouraged to talk to their previous employers, or, you know, if they don't want to say anything to their current employer, you know, at least their previous employer before that. And, you know, and those employers could be in another country where we don't have any problems with, you know, finding them wherever they are, you know, in China or France or Latin America, to talk to them, to get the information. But also it's important to be able to perform. So we try to see what the teacher is going to be like with the students. So we have our candidates do sample lessons in the class. So if, for example, if you're going to teach science in 6th grade, you know, you would teach science in 6th grade in a sample environment with the students, so that we can see, you know, what you're like. So it's ideal to be able, you know, to be prepared to do that. And so if we go to the next slide, please. I just thought I would have some examples of some of the things that DLI teachers do. So there's always, you know, in this is, you know, 2023. So there's a big technology component in most lessons, DLI class or not. There's a lot of Google Classroom and things that you have to post online for your students to be able to access, but also to teach them research skills and a lot of different things that happen on the computer. There's cultural celebrations. The teachers in at least in this dual language program are encouraged to be creative and to have, you know, besides keeping that open mind about how they teach, also, you know, that different component from their native country. We encourage them to teach it to the students. And so we do, you know, the teachers can prepare these programs. You know, if you prefer dance, then you know, you can help your students to learn some dance moves. If you prefer poetry or art or different kinds of ways to express themselves, we've had students play instruments. You know, they form their little bands and the teachers help them to play the instruments. There's a lot of different things that you can do culturally, but cultural celebrations are a big part of dual language programs because we're trying to share that culture, and it's very rich. So we want to make sure that everybody can, you know, be part of it. Lessons across levels. It's also a big part of learning a second language is using that second language. So it's a great way to work with the different grade levels. So you can have, like, for example, in these images, I think these were like 7th graders working with 4th graders, where both groups individually with their individual teachers who are working on essays. And so the younger students then are having the older students help them with their essays, or the older students are, also sharing their essays with the younger students. And then if we go to the next slide, so I don't want to use up too much of your time, there's also like practical activities. I think there was an image, maybe, oh, there we go. There's also cooking. So this was also a Mandarin class. The students were cooking. I think they were making fried rice or something on that day. That cooking class happens every Friday. So the cultural aspect of dual language instruction, I can't stress it enough. It's a big part of everyday life, because again, you're learning a language but also a culture. So the food and the dance and the music and everything of that country is a big part. So as a dual language teacher, or as a dual language partner teacher, you would be immersed in all of that as well. And there you have it.
I'm gonna stop the share so that way we can see each other and get questions and things that you're thinking about.
And you're welcome either to raise your hand or write a question in the chat box.
Or just unmute yourself and say it out loud.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I work in high school right now. And I saw the 3 programs that Georgia State had. I'm already certified in middle grades math. What would I do if I wanted to teach dual language in middle school? Because I saw the elementary track, and then I know here in Cobb we've got a couple high schools, Walton and Sprayberry, that have Spanish academies. So if I'm ESL certified, middle grades math certified, and have obviously a Georgia teaching certification, which of those programs would I do?
I think I would talk to the administrators of the middle grades dual language programs, because these have been specifically designed for elementary for the moment. And especially because you have that content certification, that's really critical, that I know middle secondary looks at. Priscilla, I know you're upper grades, but you're probably more at the elementary. How about for you?
Well, with us, again, because we're a charter school, when we hire people, we hire them based on their skill. Like I said, we read through the curriculum, their CV, and we talk to the person and we find out, if they're kind of culturally also a good fit for the school. And then we would have you do a sample lesson. And if you're going to teach math in middle grades and you're certified in high school, that's perfectly fine with us. I mean, obviously, you have 3 years to get the full certification for to continue to work here as an initial hire, then we can consider you while you're still doing your certification. So you could be at Georgia State or whatever taking the other GATES that you need to do to transfer your high school math certificate to a middle school math certificate, but that doesn't impede us the possibility of being able to hire you while you're doing that transfer of documentation.
But I just want to piggyback and say that in regular public schools, you do have to have a teaching certificate. So it sounds like you have the necessary credentials to teach at middle school level in a dual language immersion program. But if English is your language, I'm not sure how that works. So I agree with Lisa that I'd go ahead and just reach out to the schools and let them know you're interested. The other thing is, do you know Germán Suarez in Cobb County?
Yeah, because
he oversees the DLI programs in Cobb County. So you might want to just reach out to him and let him know that you're interested.
You're muted, sorry.
You're muted.
No, still.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have spoken to him, so I was just, he said I would get more information from you guys. But thank you for that recommendation. I have a lot of questions, but I want to give other people an opportunity.
I think you can go ahead and ask your questions. Other people might have the same questions. Oh, and you're muted.
Well, another general question I had is, where do you see DLI growing? And again, my situation is very specific in Cobb, but is this something that Georgia DOE is actively, intentionally trying to expand, or will it probably stay about this size for a while? Like, for example, right now I'm an ESOL teacher. We're always looking for ESOL teachers, but I don't know if that was the case with DLI. It's a little bit different.
It's an explosion. It grows exponentially every single year.
Okay.
Yes, Georgia
Well-
DOE is very much interested in growing. I mean, it's a need, it's a want, you know, from the so yes, grassroots to all the way to
Well,
the top. I mean, I want to believe.
well, they're also in a transition. So dual language immersion is housed in the world language and global workforce area of Georgia Department of Education, and they're transitioning to a new head of that area. So I know in the past they have given out grants. So schools could apply for grants just to fund and or support their DLI programs. In the past, they've also had annual conferences, kind of mini professional learning. So I recommend taking a look at their website. I'll put the link in the chat in just a minute, but you know, so we can say what they've done in the past. So we just need to kind of wait and see where they're going in the future. But my guess is that oh, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, take a look at their website and kind of keep checking back and seeing what's going on. They'll have information when if they continue with the conferences and what kind of learning opportunities they have. So there's no reason to think that they won't continue. What's kind of interesting about Georgia is that the number of programs have exploded, but there's still to date no initial teacher preparation program just for DLI. Okay. So there are programs for people that are already certified, right, to get an add-on an endorsement. But it's kind of like in this state, they've kind of put the cart before the horse and gotten, you know, really expanded the number of programs, but not really kind of fostered and supported the preparation of teachers for these programs. That's why it's great that GSU offers that opportunity.
But as your question, it's still limited. The fact it's at the elementary level focused with our endorsement and everything.
Oh, I can answer this one. Vivian asked, which Georgia counties would you say have the most dual language schools? Well, Gwinnett County has the most. Cobb also has a lot as well. So those are the top two.
And I would add, even where I am, Whitfield County in Northwest Georgia, we've got 4 or 5 dual language programs, and that's probably going to be growing as well. We have one program in one school in German, and the others are Spanish, and that they're likely to grow.
Go for it.
Well, I know that it seems like elementary's on lock, and my son is in a program now, and I love it. He's at Smyrna Elementary. And being an ESOL teacher, wondering what's going to happen with him when he gets to high school, and also seeing the need that we have. We have a lot of kids that get to the United States at 15, 16, 17 years old. And they have to start at freshman because of their English level. I was just wondering if there has been any talk of doing anything dual language for someone. Let's say they come in and they were taking algebra in Chile, and being able to take geometry or whatever, just being able to continue their education in their first language, Korean, Thai, or whatever, as they get older, or doing something like a career center to where it was more CTAE focused, and that by the time you finish the program, you're certified in culinary arts or mechanics or something like that, to where maybe you got here a little bit older, but you're certified in something and may begin working, even though you legally have till 21 to finish your high school education. That's a bit challenging for some of our kids that come in a little bit later. So I was wondering if that was something that, I don't know, is in the mix, or we're going down up and we're getting to high school.
It's district by district. And students that come in their teenage years don't have to be put in 9th grade. It sounds to me like you need to join the bilingual education intersection. And I put my email address in the chat box. So please reach out to me, because I'm currently the section leader for the bilingual education intersection, and these are exactly the kinds of issues that we need to address. And I completely agree with you that something needs to be done to give kids credit who have been to school in other countries and are coming with, you know, having completed higher level math and science, and they should be getting credit.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, if I could add sort of quickly, so I sort of I've taken sort of a bit of a break because I've had 10 main kind of things going on, but I myself have actually gone back to school of sorts and have completed a couple of the courses in the dual language endorsement, because for a lot of the reasons that you all have mentioned, me being, so I'm an ESOL professor at Dalton State College. And so a lot of these issues are kind of coming up, you know, it's related to ESOL, but it's really kind of expanding kind of in thinking in other areas with bilingual education, translanguaging, all of these issues that I need to sort of get up to speed on. And so, but also where I have sort of my long-term goal, it's sort of in my dreams, we'll see if it happens, but I would like to potentially create a bilingual or dual language endorsement at Dalton State that would sort of be patterned after what Georgia State is doing and patterned after what we do for our ESOL endorsement, kind of for that very reason, to kind of fill a bit of that void. Because we have a lot, kind of as you mentioned, there aren't very teachers in bilingual or dual language programs. Most of them aren't really certified or have specific training or expertise in that area of bilingual or dual language education. They happen to be, as you mentioned, a lot of them either with elementary education certification that happen to be bilingual, or they kind of follow sort of my track where I'm non-native speaker, but I'm certified or had certification at one point. So I can sort of I guess put in a shameless plug for the program. The courses I've taken have been very, very beneficial. Have really opened my eyes on many, many things and areas of not only dual language education, but just even ESOL instruction that I hadn't really thought of. That's really been beneficial for me in my own learning, but also things that I can share with the teacher candidates I work with. So I would encourage you all to consider subscribing and enrolling in the program. It's a really good program.
Hello, my name is Michelle Pletz, and I currently work at Atlanta College and Career Academy with Atlanta Public Schools. And I'm the ESOL teacher. I was hired back in January of 22. I came out of higher education, mainly the two-year college, and I was working before at Miami-Dade College. And so I wanted to speak a little bit to the idea that the career academies might be good places for us to think about dual language instruction. And I think there was an ideal opportunity because indeed I'm facing that with my own student population. I have a number of students who came to this country already with at least, a 7th or 8th grade education behind them, and they're already speaking, they're very literate in their first language and are very quick learners in terms of having the study skills that they need. What I see that they haven't had is really the length of time and exposure to English. So we're working really hard on academic language. But when it comes to technology, what I see is that, of course, the students want to fall back on translation tools and things like that. And because they are independent learners, it's sometimes hard for them to let go and allow themselves to enjoy immersion, even with support. So it just seems to me, as I've been watching one student in particular, I always think about because I've been working with her now for 2 years, and her entry into English is just very different from other students that I've observed. And I'm interested in collaborating more with people on conducting research on the particular needs of multilingual learners in career and technical education academies.
Mm-hmm.
Definite need.
Yeah, thanks. That's really important too. Yeah. I mean, Georgia has definitely made some advances, but there's still some needs. There's still definitely some needs, and all the issues you're bringing up are really critical and really important for our students. And these are the students that GATESOL advocates for.
I'm going to sign off for now, but I'll be reaching out through LinkedIn to connect with a few of you, and I hope to continue the conversation.
Please do.
All right.
Please do.
Thanks so much. Gracias. Buenas noches.
Yes. Thank you for what you do. I was an ESOL kid and didn't speak any English when I got here, and just you having the patience and the desire to help somebody that's like a fish out of water be able to gain gainful employment and have independence, it's really, really powerful. So thank you for working with the adult public.
So it sounds like you're also a contributor. So we're all in this together. Yeah, you guys have a great evening.
You too. You too.
Bye-bye.
It looks like Brian has something to share.
Yeah, so in case, yeah, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so thank you all for joining tonight's session. This has been very interesting and hopefully has planted the seed for many of you to start thinking about, about becoming a dual language immersion teacher. So just as a reminder, so this was our final session of a professional learning series for this year. So we want to take a break for Christmas and New Year's, but we will start back in January. On January 11th, in our first session of the 2024 professional learning series. And this session is about what is AI and how can it support multilingual learners. And the session will be given by Alessandra Elizabeth dos Santos. So just kind of have that on your radar. You'll receive notification in your email as the date gets closer. And also as a reminder, for those of you who attended and also registered, that you will receive in the email a Google form to provide feedback on this session. And we would really appreciate you providing the feedback not only for our presenters, and to give them feedback, but also feedback for us to help to improve our professional learning series moving forward, and things like what works, but also, how we might improve the series moving forward. So thank you very much for attending this evening. Have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, have a great holiday season, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of those fun things. So have a great holiday season, and we will see you back in January.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Brian, Karen, everybody. Oh, enjoy the rest of your evenings.
You too.
Yeah, well, I will see.
Brian.
Yeah, and I will see you again very shortly.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
About 35
You will.
minutes.
That's right. That's right. Okay, that's good.
Take care.
All right, Lisa. You too. Bye, Brian.